Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Driftin' and Driftin'. It's time for a little happy hour conversation, player to player, about what makes this wonderful music business go around. I'm Reverend Billy C. Wirtz, and we've had nothing but great response to all the shows we've done so far. It is my absolute honor, privilege, and pleasure to be with one of the truly talented artists of our generation, Ruthie Foster. Ruthie, it's great to have you here.
Oh my goodness. Ooh, what an intro. Oh,
and we mean it.
Thank you,
So
God.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm south of South Austin.
Okay.
You know, one more town down in
Right.
San Marcos. We call it San Marvelous. And yeah, I'm just here, you know, trying to stay safe, trying to stay in, do my thing.
Understood. Well, what we try to do with this series here is, you know, a lot of us musicians, we often get interviewed by journalists, people, you know, DJs, that kind of thing. Very rarely do we get to talk player to player and talk about how the business works and how we've gotten into it and how it started. And so I started trying to present that perspective, and I think people find it interesting. Take us back. Tell us how you got started out, where you're from, a little bit about your background.
Oh, my background is definitely gospel music. I grew up in a small town about 2 hours from here. And I grew up in a family of gospel singers and preachers, a lot of preachers in my family still. And so that was a big part of my musical introduction. My introduction to music was really sitting in the pews, sitting in the choir, sitting on the front row seat when I was a little bitty thing, with my grandmother giving me the eye across the way. Yeah, that was, and you know, and I still remember how I felt when my grandmother had 5 brothers, and they all sang. One played piano, who taught me piano. And whenever they would sing, you know, one of them was Uncle Sonny. He would sing a solo. I remember being a young girl, about 6 years old, and I remember how it made me feel when he would sing, because not only would the church just turn out, you know, you had sisters rolling in the aisles and everything, but I remember how when he sang, how it made me feel and how it changed the energy in the room. And that was what music, that's when music hooked me.
Absolutely. What denomination was this, if I might ask?
It was Baptist, yeah, Southern Baptist.
Okay, that's great. You know, you often hear Church of God in Christ was responsible for some of the early stuff along the way with Rosetta Tharpe and people like that. But, you know, the Southern Baptist caught up, and then, wow, what a background. So, okay, so you have that background. What's the first record that you can remember buying? You know, I grew up with classical, and I grew up with quartet gospel too, but that's another story. But the first record I bought for myself was I bought an Elvis record, okay? Can you remember the first like pop record that you bought?
Oh, I think it was 4th of July, Stevie Wonder. It was what was it? Hotter Than July, Stevie Wonder.
Oh boy. Wow, that's great.
Let me backtrack. Before that was Phoebe Snow. I bought this Phoebe Snow album.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Poetry Man, yeah.
Yeah, it's great, just classic. So you're raised up in the family, and you're raised up playing gospel and growing up with gospel. When did you strike out on your own? When did you start going out and working on your own thing?
I think you know, it was shortly after I graduated high school. I knew I wanted to leave my small town of 500 plus people.
Right.
And I wanted to go study music in the nearby town in Waco. They had a music college there, a junior college that was a lot like a little Berkeley. You know, you could learn a lot about commercial music there. And so I heard about that on the news, and I told my mom, and it was only about a year old at that point. And yeah, so I went and did that. I was the first Black woman to actually graduate from that class. And I used every bit of that, you know, every bit of what I learned. I struck out on my own, just basically starting there, just learning the basics of music. Yeah.
So now, did you come up like the rest of us playing the bar circuit?
Yep, I played all over Waco and regional Central Texas,
Uh-huh.
in a little band called the Joe Silva Blues Band. I was
Okay.
lead singer. They call me Little Ruthie.
Oh man.
Oh
That's
yeah, I'll have to send pictures of that one.
absolutely. Well, you're in right there in that area you were in though. You were in like a mecca for great blues artists. I mean, good Lord.
Oh
And the
yeah,
greater
blues, great Tejano, Conjunto. We had all kinds of music. I played several quinceañeras. You know,
hmm
it was just part of the music here. So a lot of the quinceañeras, they love to have blues bands. So I did a lot of those along with the Fabulous Thunderbirds when they would start.
man. I always ask this, if you weren't doing music, what would you be doing? Would
Probably in TV production because I did work in TV for a while on the other side of the camera. I loved the it was a lot like music. You know,
you,
things happen really fast during a newscast and then it's over. You
right.
know, it's a lot like a show.
hmm That lightning in a bottle moment.
Exactly. And I love that. I still love
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nothing like it. Speaking of which, okay, so you've been a few places, right?
Yeah, I've been around.
Um, what? Let me see if you can. You know, we all have that. No matter how great the career is, we all have that one gig that in the middle of the night, when you probably had too much Mexican food before you go to sleep or something, and you wake up and you go, and you think back to that night. You go, okay, oh no, that's gone. Can you remember anyone in particular like that? It was just like, oh no, a total train wreck.
Uh, I can remember a couple of places in Italy.
Really, Italy? Okay.
Of all places, because there's something about Italy that feels like home to me. It's very endearing. The
Uh
people
huh.
are a lot like they remind me of my people growing up in this homestead. Because they take care of you,
Right.
and um, the facilities and all of that are they were kind of primitive when I was over there. Uh,
Right.
that was a lot like home for me too. And you ate constantly. And it was just something about Italy that just, southern Italy that just made me feel so much at home. Yeah,
Wow. But they could get pretty wild over there, huh?
yeah, a little bit.
Uh-huh. So what are let's talk about, because what brought us here is this thing called the Blues Cruise.
Yeah.
You know, here we are, we've been playing clubs and bars and all these places all our life, and we go through Kansas City and we meet this cool guy, Roger Neighbor, and da 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 da, one thing leads to another, and then it's like, hey, we have this thing called the Blues Cruise.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, well, let's see, I'm going to get out here, and how much? Yeah, they're paying pretty good. Okay, yeah, I can do that. You know, all the food you can eat, and the crazy thing is, you play your set, and then you don't have to go anywhere. You can sort of go, you don't have to do anything, you know.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that.
It is. It is. And I have to tell you something, and I have it here somewhere. I probably should have looked that up. Um, I used to make, and I still make a vision board. And I remember when I moved back I was living in New York, in New Jersey, and I moved back home to help take care of my mother when early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I started a vision board, and I used to get these newsletters from Kansas City about something called a blues cruise.
Right.
And it included a fishing trip with Taj Mahal or something like that. And I thought, oh, I need to do this. And I remember every time I got a newsletter, I would put it on my vision board.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, okay, I'll just put it up there and see what happens.
Right.
And here I am.
How many have you done now?
Cruises I've done now, but oh my gosh, it's like one of those things, you just you see it, and it comes to fruition, and that was huge for me.
Why don't you tell me and all the people listening what the difference between, I mean, we could do the whole hour on this, but just some of the things that make the Blues Cruise different than just the fact that you're playing gigs on a boat.
Yeah, it's a lot like being on the Blues Cruise, the legendary Rhythm and Blues Cruise. It's a lot like being with family, and
Yes.
It was from the very beginning. I know it sounds weird, but I remember going on there for the first time with my then partner, Sid Cassone. It was just me and her. It was just, you know, two people, two women. And we played the Queen's Lounge, I think it was. And they couldn't fit enough people in this place
Right.
to hear our set. And throughout the rest of our cruise, you know, I felt like I was just being, I was being led into this incredible family and held and fed, nurtured.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nurtured. And it's still that way. It really is. Even the new cruisers that come along, you know, you know, and you know, I talk about the cruise everywhere I go.
Right.
And I don't care who knows about it. You know, it's just
Sure.
what I do because it's part of the cruisers are part of my family,
Mm-hmm.
and I see my cruisers all over the world. In fact, they have scared me when I look down in the front row in Italy, in France,
Yeah.
all parts of Europe, and they're sitting right down front with their cruise gear on.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Ruthie. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing for me.
Nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that anywhere else in the world in my career. Absolutely. Yes.
I call it summer camp for grown-ups.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's like a week long. You see the new people come in and they're like kids their first time at church camp, and you see the cool ones that know everything. Hey, how you doing? You know, but then and the people that are there for the first time, they're looking at the itinerary and they go, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, you know, and you tell them, okay, you better pirate, you know, but it's so good. For me, what I love to do is, you know, I love seeing and being around, like Roger has done such a wonderful job of bringing new people and established acts and guys like Leon Blue that I've gotten to know almost as we talk every 2 or 3 days. I did a big piece on him in Living Blues after just sitting around, listen to like him and Taj and Bobby Rush start telling road stories.
Oh, okay. If that happens again, you got to call me. Wake me up for that.
Oh, I will. I mean,
I've sat up with Taj at the piano bar when I went to go hear my guy Scotty Miller, my keyboard player. Who, you know Scotty very well. He plays the.
He's a terror.
Woo!
Yeah, he's a terror on that thing. Go ahead. Yeah.
So me and Marty, you know, and Ken would sit there, and then Taj would come and sit, you know, between us, and he would school me. He would spend so much time telling me all of these people I need to listen to, and I need to just, you know, I need to really dig into where he hears where my music is coming from. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, that's priceless. You can't get that anywhere else. No. Go on Wikipedia or, you know, sit on Google to get the stuff that he's just walking around with. So I remember sitting with Taj one night. Scotty's playing. I'm loving Scotty, but I am writing. I have a marker, a Sharpie, and my hands are full because I'm writing everything that Taj is telling me to go see, go hear, go listen to. And I walk out with black, you know, my hands are just black with all of these things I need to know about. Yeah, the cruise is an education. It feeds you, and I get to be a fan. I get to go hear music that I love to hear. I stood in front of Betty LaVette one night and lost my mind. And I sat in front of Bobby Blue Bland and his band before he passed. May he rest. And I lost my mind.
I was there. I was at the same show. Yeah.
Yeah, I went back and I actually wrote. I finished one of my songs after listening to Bobby Blue Bland singing the blues. I went back to my cabin and I finished that song after seeing Bobby Blue Bland.
They did that panel, you know, tribute to him, you know, while he was in the audience. And I had learned that squall that he does, he got from a C.L. Franklin sermon called "The Eagle Stirreth His Nest." Not her, but his nest.
I hadn't, oh my gosh, you're right.
And I knew that, and I brought a clip of that to that discussion. and
Okay.
his trumpet player was sitting there next to me, and Bland was kind of nodding out, and they put that on the PA, and his head snapped up like that, and he went like that to his second, and he was pointing at me. I'm going, oh, you know, and his trumpet player said, "Where the hell did you get that?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm a historian." He said, "I've heard him talk about that for 20 years, but he said, you just woke that up." And so Bland had his second. He said, "Tell that man to come over here." And he said, "Mr. Bland would like to talk to you." I'm shaking. It's Bobby Bland. Come on, you know. And he said, "Is that on a CD?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Could I get a copy of it?" I said, I'll go get it for you right now." And I went and I got it. And it was just, you know, he was really nice. And he asked me for a couple of the other quartets, like the Highway QCs and the Five Blind Boys of Mississippi, the Archie Brown Lee group that was on Duke with him at one time. And that's the other thing is you get just in minutes of conversation, you get to talk to people like Betty Levette, Alan Toussaint. You know, Irma Thomas walked in while I was getting ready to do my set in the piano bar, and I said, "Miss Thomas, all due respect, but some of my stuff is kind of raunchy." She says, "Oh, I grew up with Escarita. I'm okay." You know, it's just one of those.
Yeah, you really you get it all. You get it all, and it's all respectful and it's all relevant. It's all so relevant to the music.
So, you know, you talk and we talk, and I think it's good for people to know how much we ourselves are fans and how much we listen and hang on every word. People like that, you know, and the Bobby Blands and the Tajes and all that. What's some of the best advice you ever got from somebody that had been around the business for a while? What's a piece of advice you might have gotten that you've always stuck with you?
I was on tour with so much. You know, I can start with Bonnie Raitt telling me to wear sensible shoes on stage. That's one. But you know, I remember being on tour with Bo Diddley, and Bo would call me in every other night and remind me to always be mindful of my music and my rights to my music, my publishing. Bo was a huge advocate for singer, songwriter, entertainers owning their own stuff, because he had been burned by that.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy.
So many Black artists, so many blues artists too, who have been burned by that. And so he would remind me of that on the road. Always own your own publishing. Yes.
Okay. And so you've worked obviously and with some very famous and big people, and some better known than others.
Yeah.
If you could name 3 artists right now that it would do your heart good to know that somebody that had listened to this interview went out and bought a CD by 3 artists that you just, you know, don't think have hadn't gotten enough attention, that are like a Betty Levette or somebody like, you know, along those lines.
I would start with Betty, because there's a whole lot of schooling in Betty, and what she does, what she says, the way she presents herself on stage. That's why I was there in front of her that night. And I basically followed her back to her cabin, and we talked about everything from hot flashes to everything else. Yeah, you know, it would start with her. Gosh, you know, people that just need to be seen and heard. Oh,
Rosetta Tharpe.
so many. Oh yeah, I got Rosetta. You know, I have a Rosetta Tharpe interview, an article hanging in my room right now that's actually signed by her, that I picked up on the Blues Cruise. It was part of the auction, and I ended up with that. Definitely Rosetta Tharpe. Yeah, thank you for remembering that. Yeah. The other folks would be, you know, just a lot more gospel singers. There's so many out there who are, it's where a lot of great singers get their, you know, they get their sauce from, you know.
Dorothy Love Coates.
Okay. All right now. You better stop. Coates. Okay, we can go on with that. Norwood. Uh, what was her name?
Dorothy.
Dorothy Norwood. Yeah, I used to sing her stuff starting out. You know, Shirley Caesar.
Anything by the Caravans.
The Caravans. Yeah, Edwin Hawkins singers. Andre Crouch, Sandra Crouch. These are the folks I started out listening to growing up as a young person when we had youth choir. You know, the youth choir, and in my church, that was the choir, and then there was the youth choir. We would play every first Sunday of the month. The youth choir, we get to sing whatever we want to sing, and we always for Andre Crouch, Sandra Crouch. We went for the new stuff, right?
Right.
They could hang, and we get our sway on with our choir robes, you know.
Sure.
And yeah, that was pretty special for us.
You still keep in touch with some of your old gospel friends?
Yeah, you know, of course, you know, I've toured with the Blind the Blind Boys of Alabama. I've been so fortunate to know those.
Oh, you worked with Clarence Fountain and those guys?
Yes, I have.
I've got to. Woo, boy, what a trip!
Ooh. Yeah, they are wonderful. They really are. And you know, Mr. Carter, he's still there.
Oh yeah,
the Jimster, Jimmy Carter. He's still hanging. He's still holding those long notes.
Well, Trey Pierce, you know, the bass player that worked with him, he lives in Daytona.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that now.
Yeah, and he and I did a cruise together one time and talked about, you know, some of the gospel singers and that kind of thing, and you know, some of the little known facts and what really his dad was with a group called the Gospelaires.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That was one of Don Robey's groups.
Okay.
Back in the day, and they Ride This Train was their big hit. But that's the same, you know, the same genre. Again, he said they were great guys to work with. He said, but they were total characters.
Oh yeah, We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
You know, where you come from, there's a lot of gospel music. Now, is that where the sacred steel sound came out of Florida?
Interestingly, you should mention that the sacred steel comes from in Deerfield Beach originally.
Okay.
And R.B. Gent and those guys come from down there. Their second, like, satellite mother church is here in Ocala.
Okay.
And I found that out by being at the post office, I'm selling records on the side, and I hear them talking about this and the guy, and he said, boy, he played that steel, and one thing led to another, and I went, oh my gosh, this is a sacred steel. So yeah, the Sacred Steel Church, still very active, and that, you know, there was the whole thing with Randolph and all that, who went back and then, you know, walked, but even more so, when I first moved to town here, I met Leroy Kroom, who was the guitar player with a group called the Soul Stirrers. Oh.
That particular group, okay.
He was Sam Cooke's best buddy growing up. And he had a heart attack and passed away, but I talked to him for 3 hours in a Waffle House and talked to him, and we'll talk sometime about some of his road stories about being on the road with Sam Cooke. Okay. And he said he was bigger than life. They had to sneak him into hotels, and he said literally if he got, it would stop traffic. And he said that we were as big as the Beatles. We revolutionized gospel because he was just all that. He was that good. And we were that good. Yeah,
you know, I still remember as a little girl just here, not knowing Sam Cooke, of course, but a lot of gospel singers within the Texas region, the Central Texas region, who would do their best to try to keep that sound. They try to use that sound, not only the sound, but in these old churches, it was about how it was about different bands that would come on, different choirs that would come on. And it was about who could turn church out. You know, it was about who can get the sisters rolling, and where you just have to church has to, nobody else can play.
Yep.
It was really a competition, even churches, just like it was in soul music and secular music. I remember as a young person being from 12, 13 years old, my mother was my first manager. She would let me know when I come in from school on Fridays who I was playing for that Sunday. She says, okay, baby, so Macedonia wants you to come in. They want you at 2:00. So your uncle's gonna come pick you up, and he's gonna take you to Macedonia Baptist, and then you're gonna go over to Sweet Chariot over in Brasdale, and you're gonna play there at 3:00. So you gotta get your stuff, and you gotta be ready, and you gotta let me know what song you're gonna do when you're there. It was like that. My mother would let me know where I'm gonna be all day on Sunday. That was my gig, and they would take a collection,
Right.
and I would come home with all of this cash from playing all of these different churches. Just as Sister Ruthie, they call me Little Sister Ruthie Foster. I would play guitar and sing gospel music at all of these little churches, black and white churches, which was a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
It was a huge deal as a 12, 13, 14-year-old getting invited to a white church in the middle of Central Texas by your pastor or someone in the congregation, and they take up a collection, and you leave there with like $100, and that was like a big deal to take home to my mother. Yeah.
What's one song you've always loved singing?
Woo! Okay. Let's see. I do love my Dorothy Norwood. It was the church songs.
Sure. Or secular.
Or secular. Oh, yeah.
Or the secular version of church songs.
I tend to always go back to Sam Cooke. I don't know what it is.
Of course.
But, anything that he would do, You Send Me. I've ended a lot of my sets with that because people know it, and it's just sweet, and it gives you a chance to just kind of, do what feels natural, sing what feels natural. Yeah.
We've all been doing this for a while. I've completely lost track of all the questions I was supposed to. I just had such a great time talking to you. But there is, as we move along here, we all hit a bump. We all hit the rough side of the mountain that you got to get up and get around. And if you got one in particular that you'd like to share with us and how you got on the other side of it?
Woo! Besides the one that we're in right now?
Yeah. I mean, I know.
Every day I get up, and when my feet hit my rug, hit my carpet, the first thing I do is I sit on the side of the bed and I just say thank you, because a lot of people, you see what's happening. This is a trying time for people who, especially those who aren't used to being in their own company. They're used to just doing. And now we're in this place where you got to be still. You got to be with you. You got to be with who you are. And that can be a trying time for some of us. And as musicians and travelers, nomads, if you want to call us, it's very, very trying. And I got to tell you, it broke my heart hearing about Justin Towns Earl, who passed away. And here's somebody who was used to traveling, and then he was still. And didn't know what to do with that. We have so many musicians, so many of us out here. This is what we do. It's about having a purpose. We feel you have to have a purpose, as a lot of us, not all of us, a lot of us as musicians. And so it's been really trying in that way, this particular time. I was lucky enough to have a kid at 49, almost 50 years old. And so she is in 4th grade now, and she is my purpose.
I'll bet.
And she reminds me of that.
Daily.
As we go through online school.
Sure.
So these are times that are really, really tough. And I gotta tell you, it's good to have that, just that one thing every day. You
Sure.
gotta find that one thing that gets you up and gets you going. And then it'll just, you connect the dots for the rest of the day. And that makes
So
all
what?
the difference.
So what's next down the road? Once we get on the other side of this, you got a new album project coming out? You
I'm
gonna just
trying to write like crazy. I'm
uh-huh.
trying to write. You got me in, at my little home studio office here. So I'm trying to write. My band is writing. I've got Scotty's got some beautiful tunes he sent over. Larry Fulcher's writing. He's got some really cool. Larry's a great writer, by the way. Great producer too. And gosh, we've got Haddon Sayers is writing, and so I want to put out the next CD with all of our stuff. I want to put out as much original material as possible by next spring. We've even already set up a CD release date, which is in May, and so I gotta write. And so yeah, I'm looking for tunes. And I've got people online who are really helping me out with that.
Okay.
Trying to get a new album out by next year.
Great.
I'm doing it with my time.
Do you feel like singing a little something?
Yeah, I could do that. I thought I'd just sing a cappella. Can we do that?
That would be wonderful.
Oh man, because I loved your interview with my guy Tommy Castro, and he played a little bit of Resonator. That was really
Yeah.
I love that. But I thought, we were talking about a cappella, and I love my Sam Cooke. Can I just sing a little sound?
Oh, please.
Yeah, let's just do a little bit of sound. Oh, you send me, darling, you. Oh, you send me. I know that you send me. Oh, honest you do, honest you do, honest you do. Oh, you thrill me. I know that you thrill me. Oh, darling, you thrill me. Oh, honest you do, honest you do, honest you do. Oh, at first I thought it was infatuation, but oh, it's lasted so long. And now I find myself wanting, I want to marry you and take you home. Whoa, you send me. I know that you send me. Oh, whenever I'm near you, you send me. Oh, honest you do, honest you do, honest you do. Yeah.
I'm going to need a minute. That was great. Thank you so much. Absolutely. What a wonderful interview. Blessings to you. That was just, I have no words. Thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you, Scotty, for taking care of us on that end. This is Reverend Billy Wirtz saying thank you, folks out there, for listening to us here on Driftin' and Driftin'. We'll see you the next time. Thank you once again from the bottom of my heart, Ruthie Foster. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wanna be